The first thing the house learned was my sleep schedule. I didn't notice it at the time. I only realized later when it stopped making mistakes. The first night, the breathing began too early, around midnight, while I was still awake. I sat upright in bed, heart pounding, listening to the careful inhale and exhale drifting from the hallway. When I opened my door, it stopped. The second night, it waited until I had been asleep for exactly 1 hour. By the fourth night, it waited until I was deep enough that my body couldn't move right away. When I woke, frozen, the breathing was closer than before, right beside my bed. The narrow door appeared on the third night. I know because I photographed the hallway earlier that day while arguing with a friend about how small the place felt. The picture showed a clean stretch of wall, no seams, no hinges, no handle. But at 2:17 a.m., there it was. A thin door, slightly crooked. Its surface was scarred with long, shallow grooves, like someone had tried to claw their way out with fingernails that broke too easily. I didn't open it. That was my first mistake. The house reacted to avoidance. If I walked quickly past the door during the day, I'd hear a faint click behind me, like a disappointed tongue. If I ignored it long enough, something inside would thump once, hard, then go quiet. By the end of the week, the house had adjusted its strategy. It stopped being frightening. It started being familiar. I began finding things out of place. A mug I didn't remember owning, already dirty in the sink. A sweater folded on my chair that smelled faintly of me, but older, like clothing pulled from a long sealed box. The mirror in the hallway showed me standing just a fraction of a second behind my movements, and the door began to change. It widened. Not by much. A centimeter, maybe 2. Just enough that when I pressed my ear to it, I could hear more than breathing. I could hear movement, slow, deliberate shifting, like someone turning over in a bed that barely fit them. On the 10th night, the house spoke. Not out loud, inside my head. "You forgot me," it said. Not accusing, just confused. I slammed my head against the doorframe, trying to shake the voice loose. When I pulled back, there was a red smear on the narrow door. Blood, but not fresh, dry, flaked. Old enough that it should have been brown. The house hummed softly, pleased. I tried to leave the next morning. The front door opened to a hallway. Not my hallway, longer, dimmer, lined with narrow doors on both sides, each one scarred in a slightly different way. The air smelled like old skin and dust. I slammed the door shut and collapsed against it, screaming. When I turned around, I was back in my living room. The house did not like escape attempts. I started losing time. Hours vanished, sometimes whole days. I'd wake up, seated on the couch, my body aching as if I'd been standing too long, staring at the narrow door. My phone filled with photos I didn't remember taking. Close-ups of the door handle, the grooves, the gap at the bottom where shadow leaked through like ink. One photo showed the door slightly open. Inside was a room that looked like my bedroom, but wrong. The bed frame was smaller, the walls were closer. The ceiling bowed inward, as if under pressure. Something was sitting on the bed. It had my face, but older, thinner, and very tired. The house stopped hiding the truth after that. "You lived here first," it told me gently. "You asked me to remember." The memories came back in fragments. A different year, a different version of me. Desperate, alone, afraid of being forgotten. I had read something, some theory about spaces retaining identity, about rooms holding people the way lungs hold air. I thought if I stayed long enough, if I pressed myself into the walls deeply enough, I could make a place that would never let me go. I built the room myself, narrow, tight, just enough space for regret. When the loneliness became unbearable, I asked the house for help. I asked it to make another me. The thing in the room wasn't a copy. It was the original. I was the replacement. That night, the narrow door opened all the way. I stood in the hallway, shaking, while the thing inside the room sat up. Its joints cracked as it moved, unused to freedom. Its eyes were mine, but starved. "You sleep better than I ever did," it said. The house leaned inward, walls creaking with anticipation. "You learned faster," it continued. That's why you last longer. It stood. I felt the house gently guide me forward. I tried to fight, but the floor tilted, subtly, convincingly. The room behind me shrank as I stepped into the narrow space. The walls pressed close, breathing with me. The door began to close. As it did, the thing smiled, not cruelly, but with relief. "Don't worry," it said softly. "The house will take care of you." The latch clicked. I wake now at exactly 2:17 a.m. Every night. I breathe carefully so the house won't forget me. Sometimes I hear footsteps in the hallway. Someone new learning the space. Someone confused by the extra door that doesn't belong. I try to warn them, but the walls are very thick, and the house is very good at listening.